Welcome, guys. We are live. My name is Andrew, and I'm part of the marketing team over at SE Ranking. And today, I'm joined by the brand SERP guy, Jason Barnard. We're going to talk about why tracking your brand SERP is crucial for your success. So just before we kick things off, I want to say a couple of words about Jason. He has over 2 decades of experience in digital marketing under his belt. He has many titles, wears many hats. He is a keynote speaker, event host, musician. He did some cartoon voiceover work, which is amazing, if you ask me. And maybe Jason can say a couple of words about himself before we move on to the main part of the presentation. Jason, how are you?
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much, Andrew. In fact, I started off very boringly. I did a degree in economics with a specialisation in statistical analysis at Liverpool University. I actually went to the same university as John Lennon, but not at the same time. So I kind of have a famous connection there. And then I came to Paris, where I am today, and joined a band playing folk punk music, playing the double bass. Then became a blue dog in a cartoon for 12 years in the on the island of Mauritius, which is down in the Indian Ocean near Madagascar.
You've been around.
Yeah. And then came back, and now I'm the brand SERP guy because doing the cartoon was actually online. So I learned SEO from 1998. I started doing SEO in the year Google was incorporated. So I've been doing SEO for 22 years, initially as a blue dog and now as the brand SERP guy. And that's why I'm here today, because I'm now obsessed by brand SERPs and what they can bring to both our digital strategy, but also to our business and our bottom line.
Wow, you had a really amazing journey, and the way that it just planned out your career without you knowing is amazing. I bet a lot of people are inspired by your story. So then let's move on to the main part of our presentation, of our webinar. Jason is going to say, well, not a couple of words, but he's going to have a big presentation about why tracking your brand SERP is crucial for your business and for your success. And then later on, I'm going to say a couple of words as well. So without further ado, Jason, let's kick it off.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much, Andrew. Right. Today, I'm talking about why tracking your brand name is crucial for your success. I call myself the brand SERP guy. I've been tracking SERPs, brand SERPs more particularly, since 2013. I initially started off because I was wondering if I could control what comes up when somebody searches my personal brand name, my name, Jason Barnard. I started that in 2013, and it's now become an entire career because it's actually very important, not only for people, but also for businesses. And we'll see at the end how much I can actually control my brand SERP and how well I've done over the last 7 years to actually get this under control, positive, accurate, and convincing, which is the aim. And also, therefore, how much you can do to control your brand SERP and make it, once again, positive, accurate, and convincing. So let's get going. The 3 reasons that you have to keep listening. Firstly, brand SERPs are vital to your bottom line, and we'll see why later on. But secondly, brand SERPs give you amazing insights into your marketing strategy, your digital marketing strategy. And thirdly, brand SERPs are interesting. I think they're interesting, and I'm sure after this talk, you'll think they're interesting too. Oh, and there's a 4th reason. At the end, there's some tracking tips for your brand SERP using SE Ranking. I'll give you some, and then Andrew will give you some. So it's worth sticking around, finally, for those 4 reasons. So here we go. We're going to look at this through 5 questions and 5 strategies. So not only will I be encouraging you to ask the right questions about your brand SERP, but I'll be giving you the 5 strategies to actually improve your brand SERP, to optimize your brand SERP. Question number 1. Who's searching your exact match brand name? Now, 2 points here. Number 1 is I'm not talking about searches that contain your brand name, such as brand name plus reviews or brand name plus product. I'm talking about your exact match brand name. Who's searching for it? First question. Existing clients. Why do existing clients search for your brand name? They're searching for your brand name because they want to navigate to your site. So an existing client potentially will search your brand name multiple times per day. And certainly, depending on the number of times they come to your site, every week, every month. So these people are seeing your brand SERP on a very regular basis because they're navigating to your site by searching your brand name. Number 2 is prospects. This is bottom of funnel. And that speaks bottom line. People who are about to do business with you, about to sign on the dotted line and become, let's say, a partner. Because if we start looking at clients as partners, that might actually improve our approach to them. So these prospects are about to sign the dotted line. They search your brand name to research you, to find out more about you, to check that they're making the right choice of the business to do business with or to business to partner with. But also potential hires, people who want to work for your business, journalists, people who want to write about your business, potential partners. All of these people, except number 1, are researching your brand. So we have 2 reasons, one of which is navigating, which is existing clients, and the other is researching. All of these people are crucial to your business. They're either already doing business with you or they're thinking of doing business with you. They're the people who really matter to your bottom line. What they see is incredibly important to your entire business strategy. Question 2, why are they searching? I've actually gone through this very quickly, navigating to you or researching you. Question 3, what do they see? What do they see when they search your brand name? There are 3 possibilities here. It's perfect. Everything they do represents your brand and makes you look great in their eyes. In that case, the job is done and you can probably leave this talk. But before you leave, I don't think anybody has got the perfect brand SERP. I've been working on it for 7 years and I still don't have the perfect brand SERP. It might be good. A lot of brand SERPs are good, but you still have work to do. So you should stick around because you can optimize it. You can make it better. Everybody else, you have to sit down, make yourself really comfortable because there's a lot of hard work to be done to make that brand SERP representative of your brand so that your bottom line will improve. Question 4, how does Google decide what it's going to show them? On the left, you can see a very boring brand SERP with some bad reviews. On the right, you can see a very interesting brand SERP with lots of SERP features. I call them rich elements. I like the idea of Google as a multimedia page. The SERP results are more and more multimedia, and that's rich results. How does it decide what to show them? Value to the user. It wants to show its users, and remember that the people searching your brand name on Google, or in fact any term on Google, are Google's clients, Google's users. And Google wants to satisfy them. So when they're searching for your brand name, Google wants to show them an honest representation of your brand. And if we go quickly back to the slide before, the one on the left, if that is your brand SERP with the bad reviews and the boring results, that is an honest representation of your brand that Google is showing its users because it feels that that result is relevant and valuable to them. If you're on the right, obviously you're in a much better position. That's a representation of a healthy, quality brand that will impress people. So it's showing those results because it perceives that those results give value to the user. So you need to make sure that Google understands which are the results to show on your brand SERP to bring that value to its users when they're researching or navigating to your site. Question number 5, crucially, what can you do to make your brand SERP sexy? Now, I use the term sexy. Don't know if that's very appropriate, but what I mean is it looks great, it feels great, and it looks something like this with those rich elements, those SERP features that make it look, for me, sexy, multimedia, exciting, convincing. Sexy actually goes further than that. It needs to be accurate. It needs to represent accurately your brand to Google's users. And I'd like to add, your audience, people who are searching your brand are your audience, but Google's users. And that's a very important distinction. What you're asking Google to do, and you're getting Google to do, is provide an accurate representation of your brand to your audience, which are its users. Number two, positive. Obviously, you want them to see something really positive. You want them to be impressed by the wonderfulness of your brand. And thirdly, and this is the crucial one, convincing. If they're thinking of doing business with you, you want them to be convinced by the SERP that Google is presenting. You want them to think, great, this is a business I want to work with. So you want it to be convincing. And that's, if you remember the one on the right with all the rich elements, the SERP features, that looks convincing. The one on the left with the blue links and the 1-star reviews does not look convincing. So this is the audience participation part. Take a quick look at your brand SERP. Which is yours? The one on the left or the one on the right? Or more probably, something in between. If you have the one on the left or something in between, you need 5 strategies to improve, to optimize your brand SERP. We're going to go through those strategies one by one in this webinar. Content you control, content you semi-control, content you don't control. We can think about drowning results, and we can think about the rich elements, which is my favorite part, because that's when you start to get that brand to look incredibly convincing to clients, prospects, journalists, potential hires, potential partners, anybody in short who's searching your brand name. Firstly, control. This is the really easy part. On the left, we've got the home page. You obviously control your home page, but if you're now looking at your brand SERP that you just searched for, is that meta title and meta description that Google is showing to your audience, to its users, is it as convincing as it could be in the context of a search on your brand name? If it's not, obviously you control it, you can change it. And if you look below, you can see those rich site links. Those rich site links, why does Google show them? Google shows rich site links because it perceives them to be valuable, helpful to users who want to navigate directly to a specific part of your site. Now look at the rich site links it's showing for your site. Are the links relevant and helpful to people searching your brand name? If you don't have rich site links, that's a big red flag. That means Google hasn't understood your site properly. It's not showing those links because it isn't clear to Google where somebody might want to go when they're searching your brand name. In that case, you need to start looking at your site structure and how you're presenting the different aspects and areas of your site. On the right, we have Google Ads. That's a great way to control your brand SERP front, center, right at the top. The nice thing about Google Ads is because you're paying Google, you get to choose the title, the description, and in fact the rich site links. In the case of a brand SERP, you will often get rich site links with Google Ads. And that's a lovely way to control your message 100%. And also with Google Ads, obviously, you can segment your audience so that you can show a different message to people navigating, clients, to those prospects who are about to buy, or to anybody else who you might be able to segment when they're searching your brand name. So Google Ads is actually more powerful than often we imagine on brand SERPs. The debate, should I or should I not put Google Ads on my own brand SERP? I would say, having initially thought no, I would now say yes, because it allows you to control front, center, right at the top. And when you get the Google Ads with the site links, and then you get your homepage with the site links, you're controlling everything above the fold when somebody searches your brand name on desktop or on mobile. Next, semi-control. These are great. Your social accounts should logically rank on your brand SERP. Whichever social accounts you're working most on should be there on your brand SERP. If they're not, You should work on them to make them, get them there, and to improve how they appear. Obviously, you don't control 100% what your meta title and meta description are, but you can control to a certain extent. Also, if you have a Wikipedia page, you can control that. You can edit Wikipedia. Very careful. Don't over-edit it, or you will end up with a warning on your Wikipedia page, or perhaps even deleted. If you don't have a Wikipedia page, warning, don't create one unless you're notable. Wikipedia has rules about who is allowed a Wikipedia page and who isn't. And the rule is notability. And notability simply means that your brand is worth and valuable enough for people to talk about with no bias and no interest in your brand. So if journalists, for example, the New York Times or the Guardian or a large media corporation such as that are talking about you, you probably do deserve a Wikipedia page. If they're not, you probably don't. The next one, the little stars there, that's reviews. Review sites will often rank on brand SERPs. They're very interesting because you semi-control them. If they're bad, or if they're not as good as you'd like, you can direct your existing clients towards those platforms to improve those reviews. Crunchbase, little bit like Wikipedia or Wikidata, it's a list of businesses, of brands that you can actually edit. And here you don't have to worry about whether you're notable, whether you're worthy of a page on Crunchbase. You are. Every company has the right to have a Crunchbase page. And Crunchbase will sometimes rank on brand SERPs. Search Engine Journal, I've put that at the bottom simply because I write for them. That's to represent guest blogging. If you're guest blogging or somebody in your company is guest blogging for another platform, that may well rank. Your profile page, your brand's profile page may well rank, and there you have semi-control. Next, those where you have no control at all. On the left, we have forums. In the middle, we have bloggers, people writing about your company. On the right, we have media sites that write about your company. Obviously, you have no control at all about what they present to Google. And if they're ranking on your brand SERP, it might seem impossible that you might be able to change that. But you might be able to improve it by reaching out to these people in the case of bloggers or article writers and ask them or suggest that they could change what they've written. That means you have to build a relationship with them. If you just reach out and say, please change it, they probably won't. But if you can build a relationship with them, you can convince them to change their article or their meta title and meta description to make your brand SERP look better. In the case of forums, obviously, the forum owner is somebody you can approach, but also engage with your audience on those forums. And that not only will improve your brand SERP if you have that forum ranking, but it will also improve your relationship with your clients and improve your digital ecosystem, which is everything around your brand that's online. Next, drowning. I don't really like the term drowning. I prefer leapfrogging. The idea of drowning is to say, I'll create lots of content that will rank on my brand SERP and push all the content that I think is suboptimal or negative off my brand SERP. That means I create content simply in order to occupy that space. Now, it sounds like a very tempting idea, but in fact, it's not such a great idea simply because if you create loads of content to rank on your brand SERP, you're pushing the panda button. The panda button is Google's algorithm from 2011, I believe, whereby they created Panda to punish and to demote spammy articles. So if you start creating articles simply to rank on your brand SERP, you're liable to press that Panda button. And those articles will tend not to rank because today Google's Panda algorithm will sort all that out and push it away and not allow it to rank. So it's much better to come to something more positive. To work on leapfrogging is to choose content that's below the content that you don't like, that you don't want on your brand SERP, and promote that. Push it up your brand SERP, leapfrogging over the bad content or the suboptimal content and pushing that content down so that the content you want to rank, that you feel represents your brand positively, accurately, and convincingly to your audience, Google's users, that great content is above the content that does that job less well, that doesn't look so great for you. When you want to leapfrog, you need to choose the content below the suboptimal content you want to get rid of and promote it. And you can divide that into three different categories: content you control, content you semi-control, content you don't control. And you'll recognize that from the little piece before. Once again, it's saying I can work on content I control, my site or other sites that I control. And we'll see that later on in my example right at the end. I can work on that to push it up. I can work on my social accounts. I can work on my profile pages on sites for which I guest blog, for example, or other sites. I can work on content I don't control by engaging, talking to the people who are writing these great articles about me and help them to improve their pages so that they push up the rankings in general, but more specifically for me on my own brand SERP. And the last one is the new content, traditional drowning. And as I said, be a little bit wary of that. Don't create lots of content if it won't rank. If you can create content and get it on The Guardian or the New York Times or the Brisbane News or whatever, a major newspaper, a major media site, then it will rank. And that's a great thing to do. So you can start thinking about drowning with new content. If it's just new content on some rubbish platform that will never rank, keep away. You'll ruin your reputation. And that's a very important point very quickly, is Google is showing on your brand SERP what it feels is most valuable to its users. Your brand SERP is a representation of your brand. If you start messing around with your brand SERP using cheap, spammy tactics, such as writing bad articles on rubbish sites, Google is seeing that as being representative of your brand. And your reputation in Google's eyes will go down. And that will start to kill your EAT, expertise, authority, and trust. If you don't know what expertise, authority, and trust means in the context of Google, look up Lily Ray or Marie Haynes. They explain EAT and its importance within the Google algorithm incredibly well. Last, rich elements, and this is my favorite part. As I said, they're very sexy. This kind of brand SERP with the Twitter boxes, the video boxes, the image boxes look incredibly good, incredibly convincing. And they kill a blue link. What do I mean by killing a blue link? When you get a rich element such as the Twitter boxes or the video boxes, it takes up 2 places. So instead of having 10 blue links, the traditional 10 blue links that we had up until about 2014, you get your Twitter boxes, there are only 9. If you get your Twitter boxes and your video, there are only 8. And in fact, these rich elements kill blue links. And the more you can kill blue links on your brand SERP, the less content, the less results there are for you to worry about that people will see when they Google your brand name. And that makes it much easier to manage to make your brand SERP accurate, positive, and convincing. So killing the blue links is a wonderful thing. And very quickly, the average number of blue links on a brand SERP today is 7.5. So if you have more than 7.5 blue links on your brand SERP, get working on these rich elements. Let's go through them with some examples and some numbers. The numbers come from calicube.pro, which is my personal project. I'm tracking 14,000 brand names and 10,000 people to see what their brand SERP looks like. I've got 10 million brand SERPs in a database, and I've studied it, and I've looked and tried to understand what is happening in Google's minds and what is happening on these brand SERPs. And here are some numbers. Those rich site links I talked about earlier on, surprisingly, only 45% of brands have got these. That's a big red flag for the 55% of brands who don't. You need to get them because not only do they kill a blue link, they give you control over the top of your SERP, and they're really helpful to people Googling your brand name because it allows them to access directly different areas of your site. And we look here, a free trial of plans and pricing. That's great for anybody who's researching you to see if you want to do business with you. Next, people also ask, this example is Microsoft. 33% of brands have people also ask on their brand SERP. That's up from 29% 8 months ago. Why has that increase happened? Because Google wants to answer questions before we've even thought we needed to ask. And why is that so interesting on brand SERPs? Because I'm searching a brand to research it. Google's suggesting these are related questions around the brand that you might want to ask as a user. That means that these questions are more and more prevalent, and more important for you to actually deal with the questions. So if you look at those, if you have these on your brand SERP, ask yourself the question, do I have a page that answers this question? Because I need to control what people will see as an answer to these questions that Google considers pertinent to my brand name. Twitter boxes. 11% of brands have got Twitter boxes. Remember, get Twitter boxes, kill a blue link. But also, Twitter boxes look professional and they indicate that your Twitter strategy is incredibly successful. Microsoft have Twitter boxes, and you can see that the information that's being shown 2 hours ago, 21 hours ago, 1 day ago is relatively recent, relatively fresh. Why is that? Because Twitter feeds directly into Google. Everything you tweet, everything you put on Twitter is injected directly into Google. And we'll see now just how much. The next example is a mobile where you get images which look incredibly sexy, incredibly convincing, but also you'll see 5 minutes. In fact, when I tweet, I can get a tweet onto my brand SERP. If you search Jason Barnard now, you'll see the latest tweets. The fastest I've been able to get the tweet up there is 17 seconds. So in fact, I can tweet and talk in real time to people who are searching my brand name, which is an amazingly powerful tool when you think that somebody navigating, a client, who's navigating to your site multiple times a day will see that you're working on Twitter and that you're active, and will see a different message every time they turn up. That's very powerful because it makes you seem much more credible. Next, videos. These are very popular. 25% of brands have video boxes on their brand SERP. That's interesting to users because they can watch directly the videos of the brand they're searching for. If you have them, it means you've got a healthy video strategy. If you don't have them, then you don't, and you should be working on it. Images. 24% of brands have images. It was 36% 8 months ago. The reason for that is that videos are becoming more popular, and videos and images rarely appear on a brand SERP together. So when you get more video, you get less images. And the reason for that, and Minaz from Bing, who's the team lead in multimedia ranking at Bing, explained to me that images and video are part of the same algorithm. That means they tend to swap each other out. Next, related searches. These are incredibly important because when you have the related searches, it means that Google's understood who you are and what you do. And in this example, we can see that Google has understood what SE ranking does and which brands are within the same industry, within the same space as they are. That's important for 2 reasons, one of which it means Google's understood who you are and what you do, and that helps it understand where you might be a good solution for its users. But more than that, it means that you need to deal with the fact that your competitors are going to appear increasingly on your brand SERP. For the moment, that's only 12%, but that's rising very, very fast. Next, featured snippets. Feature snippets are very rare, 2%. Why? Because it's not an answer to a question. Feature snippets are there to answer specific questions. People also ask is much more relevant for users, much more valuable for Google's users searching your brand name than a feature snippet would be. So this is unlikely to increase, and you can expect feature snippets not to appear on your brand SERP. The knowledge graph pushes the knowledge panel. If you don't have a knowledge panel today, you don't look very professional. 15% of brands have got knowledge panels. And I think now when we search for a brand, we expect to see a knowledge panel. What is a knowledge panel? It's it's what Google has understood about the brand and what it does. These look very professional. They look very convincing. And as long as they're accurate and positive, they tick all 3 boxes for making your brand look great to people searching your brand. It's accurate, it's positive, and it's convincing. Here are some SERPs that I picked out, and it's just to demonstrate how few blue links there are once you start generating those rich elements. On the left, we only have 6. In the middle, we have 5. Look how rich that one in the middle is. We've got rich site links, we've got the knowledge panel, we've got the Twitter boxes, we've got the video boxes, and all of a sudden there are only 5 blue links. On the right, 7, because we have that feature snippet at the top. So if your brand SERP has more than 7 blue links, you should start working today on triggering those rich elements. What do I mean by triggering? I mean pushing out the content in a manner that Google understands that that content is relevant and valuable to its users searching your brand name, be it video, Twitter, the knowledge panel, related searches, and so on and so forth. So which will yours be? The one on the left, which looks pretty rubbish, or the one on the right, which looks incredibly convincing? It's your business card. Why do I say business card? I say business card because when I talk to somebody, the first thing they do is search my name or my brand name if I'm representing a company to understand what Google thinks about me. In fact, sorry, to research me. And what they see is what Google thinks about me. And it's my business card. And I must, as a business owner or an individual, make that business card as good as I possibly can. So the conclusion of all this is for your brand SERPs, you really should be tracking them. It seems counterintuitive to be tracking your own search term because you're always going to rank number 1. But if you track them, you get the results. And we'll see in a moment with the SE ranking exactly how far that can go. So you need to track them to understand what's appearing and what people are seeing when they search your brand name. What does your Google business card look like? Next, you need to measure them. Are they good? Are they bad? I have a system on Calicube.pro which actually tracks and measures across multiple countries what your brand SERP looks like, measures how good it is, and tells you how to improve it. I actually have a course online that I released 3 days ago that it tells you, I explain to you exactly how to improve, to optimize your brand SERP, to make that score, if we look here, push it up from 80% to 90%, make that Google business card look much, much better, much, much more convincing to your users searching on Google. You can track your brand SERP for free. There's the link. I'll let you quickly write that down. On Calicube.pro, we allow you to track your brand SERP for free, get that measurement, and see how you could improve it. See how you can improve what people see when they Google your brand name. Now, a quick example of tracking with SE ranking. I had a lot of fun doing this. I started tracking my own name in the United Kingdom using SE ranking. So I've got this incredibly simple project set up, tracking Jason Barnard in the United Kingdom. And I kept it simple because I wanted to make this example as simple to present as I possibly could. Now here, we can see on the right-hand side, I'm ranking number 1 across March 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th. Ranking number 1, normal, wonderful. But what's interesting is I can see the SERP feature that I've triggered. I've triggered a knowledge panel. I've triggered the video boxes. I've triggered Twitter, and I've got reviews on my SERP. That immediately tells me at a glance that my brand SERP looks very sexy. But I actually push this further. SE ranking has got a really nice feature that I can analyze over time what my brand SERP looks like. You simply dig down into the competitors part, and I can spread out from February the 1st, March the 1st, and March the 20th what my brand SERP looks like and compare over time. And here we can see that that top 4 is incredibly stable. It doesn't change. And on my brand SERP, that hasn't changed for about 8 months. Why? Because it's been 7 years that I've been working on this brand SERP, and the longer you work on it, the longer you optimize it for, the more stable the top of your brand SERP becomes. But in fact, the bottom is pretty stable as well. And it's becoming more and more focused on things that I want because I'm working on specific elements that I'm interested in. Number 1, Facebook. This top result, number 5, it was actually a query for all the Jason Barnards on Facebook. And that's been dropping down as I work on other elements to leapfrog, as I described earlier. For example, the Calicube Pro site. It was talking about me. Then it just dropped to the podcast. Now we're back to about me and the podcast. That means that I'm controlling, CaliCube is my site, controlling 2 results plus my homepage. That's 3 results where I have direct control. Next, we have the LinkedIn profile. That's been moving up tiny little bit, but it's talking about me. And you can see the today author, Jason Barnard. Because I've been using LinkedIn a lot and I've been posting a lot, that result, i.e. my latest LinkedIn posts, seems to Google to be valuable and relevant to users searching my brand name. So it's pushing it up the rankings little by little. Next, one other Jason Barnard gets a look in. There are 250 Jason Barnards in the world, and this guy is a footballer in South Africa who's quite successful. Because I'm working so hard on my brand SERP, I'm the only Jason Barnard that Google presents. Every now and then, somebody else pops up into the results and they disappear away again because I'm controlling my own brand SERP. Lastly, here we've got Stitcher, my podcast. That's kind of coming into this brand SERP more and more. Why is that? Because I keep releasing episodes. Every week I release one podcast episode where I interview somebody from the marketing industry about something really interesting and exciting that they want to talk about. But what that means is that I've got a steady stream of content that makes Google realize that that content is valuable to people searching my brand name. And that means that my podcast is now becoming increasingly important in terms of the real estate it takes up on my brand SERP. So I'm heavily influencing, perhaps even controlling, the brand SERP. And that's the crux. If you track, you measure, and then you improve your brand SERP, you will end up controlling it. And lastly, here's the EasyJet example. If you look here, the little black home icons, results they control. Twitter, Wikipedia, semi-control. People also ask, they can control it if they create the content that's relevant for those questions. The news obviously depends on the news. They need to control their PR. And there's only one result there, Skyscanner right at the bottom, where EasyJet have no control. So if you can track, then measure, then improve, you can control what people see when they Google your brand name. Your Google business card will look incredibly good, incredibly positive, incredibly accurate, and incredibly convincing to everybody who's searching your brand name. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Jason. That was very insightful. I was taking notes during your presentation, and I was thinking, like, what should I address them? Because there's just too much, and everything is interesting. So just guys, rewatch this at your own pace. If you didn't catch all of that, it was a lot of going on. And plus, I noticed the illustrations. Are those yours? All your work?
No, they're actually my ex-wife.
No.
We still get on incredibly well, and she's a wonderful, talented artist. So I get her to do my illustrations because she's got that really nice kind of crayon-y style, which I love.
Okay, got it. So thanks a lot. And now I want to show you guys a bit more in detail about how you can do this, track your brand SERP with this ranking. Jason sort of stepped in on that a bit, but I'm going to show you in live in action how it works. So let me just quickly share my screen and let's get to it. All right. So this is the main dashboard of SE ranking. There are a lot of tools here that were dedicated to getting you to climb those Google search or other search engine rankings. And today what I wanted to focus on is are a few tools that we have that can help you out with managing and keeping track of your brand SERP. So to do this, I'm gonna first create add a website to the platform and do all the setup that will allow us to get the results that we need. So first of all, I'm going to enter a name. So for example, it's going to be Apple Incorporated, and I'm going to use their website. Okay, let's click next. Now the next step is adding the keywords. You can import a list. You can get suggestions from the system, or you can just copy and paste a list of keywords like I did here and just add them to this specific website. Now, the next step is where what I want to focus on in detail. So this is the search engine setup step. We are going to add 2 specific regions to track, just to show you the different opposites that you can do, like the minimum setup or the maximum setup. So I'm going to start off with the simplest setup. So first off, you need to choose your search engine, and we have Google Mobile, Yandex Mobile, and as well as desktop versions, Yahoo, Bing, and even YouTube videos. So just depending on what you're interested in and where your audience does all the search, select the search engine that's of interest to you. So I'm going to go for Google. Right now, I'm going to select an entire country to track, so which is going to be Australia in this case. And I'm not going to specify the exact location, and I'm not going to specify the Google interface language. But what I am going to do is include Google Maps results. So just toggle this option over here and indicate your business name and the company phone number that you have. And also, if you want to track your Google Ads rankings, toggle this option over here, and you will get the results that will include your Google Ads rankings. So this is a simple setup for Australia. So let's click and add this search engine. All right, as you can see, here it is. Now I'm going to take it, add a bit more details to this next search engine. And also I'm going to select Google as the search engine that I'm going to track. And this time I'm going to select the United States as the country. It could have been Australia just as easy, but for the purpose of this webinar, I'm just gonna have a different setup. And here is the location option that you have to specify. Here you can, for example, write a city, and it will get a list of all the cities that include Baltimore in the name. Or you can take it a step further and indicate the zip code that you want to track, or the postal code, depending on where you're from. And it offers us, it shows us here that New York has this specific zip code, or a region in New York, which I'm looking for. So I'm going to select it. And last option that I want to show here is the Google interface language. So for example, you know that people in this specific area, in this specific zip code, speak 2 languages, for example. And you can create a couple more search engines here to track, and that way you can include all of your target audience. So for example, you can create one for English-speaking people and another one for, let's say, your Spanish-speaking target audience. I'm not going to go for the Spanish one right now, just for this example. And so as you can see, we have specified to track a specific zip code in the United States, in New York. So let's click to add this search engine. As you can see at the bottom, we have 2 search engines added to this project. So right now, I'm not going to finish the entire setup, and I'm just going to go back to a project that I have created beforehand with the same name, so that you won't be confused and everything's going to be the same. But this time we're going to have more details. So once I click on projects, I'm going to select one from the list, and here it is, apple.com. And I'm going to go over to the rankings module to get started with the brand SERP management issue. So as you can see, here we have the second search engine that we added, New York, with a specific zip code. And at the bottom, as we scroll down, we have the entire region of Australia being targeted. Here we have groups of keywords, because I already put them in groups, but these are basically the same keywords that I just entered into the project creation wizard. And what I wanted to focus on here is this column, SERP features, or rich elements, or rich results, but we call them SERP features in SE ranking. So here you can see all of the keywords that are being tracked by this specific website and this specific region. And it shows all the SERP features that that appear for each of the targeted keywords. If your page appears, has a SERP feature appears for one of your web pages, it will be marked, highlighted in blue. And so if you see that there are dark gray or even black icons here, that means that there are SERP features, but they are just not related to your specific website in this case. You can also filter out the different options by clicking on the column, and here you can select to see only those SERP features that appear for your website. You can mark to see the keywords that you're targeting that you don't have any SERP features displayed for. Plus, you can select a specific SERP feature just to look only at it. So right now I'm not gonna play around with the filter anymore, but what I am gonna do is show you a different, an additional thing that you can do with your ranking. So I'm gonna click on Apple Watch and one of these rankings. So I'm just gonna go for the last result that we have here, and we will get a pop-up that shows us detailed information about this specific keyword and the URL that is being tracked for this specific keyword. But I wanted to focus on three options here. So we have the cached copy, we have the live results, and the top 100. Let's look at them one by one. So the cached copy basically opens up your specific SERP in the specific region that we specified, which is New York, with this zip code. As I know that I'm repeating myself, but I just wanted to highlight that everything is here, and you can just be just make double sure that you are on the right page. So these are the cached results that were the cached copy that was taken when we last recorded rankings for the specific SERP, which was today, earlier today a bit. And just to make sure, you can just scroll down, and as you scroll down, just keep an eye on those SERP features that show up for the specific website in the SERP, for the specific keyword in the SERP. And just scroll down, you can see that this is in fact the region that we specified. So this means that your specific target audience, if you're targeting this specific area, will see this exact SERP. So if we had selected Australia, then we would see the entire SERP for the Australian region, which is not very specific for us. We need more specific data, because if you just go for the nationwide data, it's probably going to be mixed up, and it's going to be an average of all the different cities that are taken into account. So I advise you to go as detailed as possible. Now, going back to the previous tab, we have the live results. So basically, just gives you an opportunity to compare the cached copy with the live results to see if anything has changed. Just once again, we have all the same SERP features here. And I'm not going to focus anymore on this this option, but just to recap, you can compare what your rankings looked, what your page, what your SERP exactly looked like for the specific keyword when the results were cached and now. And finally, this is the coolest part of the feature, which I like the most. It is the top 100. So the top 100 basically allows you to go back in time and just shows you everything that's been going on with the SERP for this specific keyword, Apple Watch, which was selected initially. So using the calendar, you can select a date range just to make sure that just to give you an opportunity to go back in time. You can also select a specific date from a month ago, 2 months ago, or just go back well, pretty far. So let's click apply, and just we'll get additional results. So as Jason was showing you a screenshot of these results, but we can see them live in action. So we can make sure that this is the exact region that we're targeting. It's not Australia, it's the US. We've selected a date range, and now we'll get to the good part. As you can see, we have a lot of tags here that help us understand the results more quicker. We can even click on any of the results here just to see if the positions have changed over time. So obviously the first one is Apple, and it's it's a pretty branded search. So it's no surprise that Apple is maintaining its top position. But if you click on another website, you can see that they are jumping and moving up or down, just depending on the strategy that they have. And moving on back to the topic of managing your specific brand SERP, you just need to analyze the top results that you have, and just make sure that find out if you have any SERP features appearing for your specific keyword. That way you know that you have to target your top 7 results, 6, 5, 8, or even 10, just depending on if those blue links have been pushed out. So just going through the results, you can tag them to make it easier for you to understand who you're going up against. Is it something that you control? Is it content that you control, semi-control, or don't control at all? and just tag them so that you quickly can understand if anything has changed, or taken into account all the strategic steps that you took. So, and additionally, you can click to see the metrics if you don't recognize one of the results and you don't want to quickly go and analyze them yourself. You can just get a general overview and get information such as Alexa rank, Moz domain authority, and the number of backlinks that this specific website has. And so, yeah, basically, this gives you an opportunity to keep a finger on the pulse of your specific SERP, and you can just click around and switch the SERP to see if anything has changed, and also tag the different results to make it easier for you to see if your strategy is helping you, if it's working. So just use all of the things that I showed you in regard to managing your brand SERP and SEO ranking. But there are plenty of other tools that you can explore. So go ahead and do that. So this is what I wanted to show you guys in terms of managing your brand SERP in SEO ranking. And right now I want to invite Jason back so we can have a couple of maybe cover a couple of additional questions. You can always reach out to SEO ranking on our live chat, or just contact us on our email. Plus, if you have any questions related to the main topic of this webinar, managing your brand SERP, Jason will be, I'm hoping, more than happy to help you out. If you have anything to ask with a specific question in mind, just reach out to him on Twitter or any of the other channels that he has made available that he showed you during this presentation. So, Jason, if it's okay with you, well, let's take a couple of questions, only a few.
Yeah. Really quickly, just two things before we carry on. Number one is on social media, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, or Instagram. It's Jason M. Barnard. And what's interesting there is not that it's me, but the fact that because I've been doing my brand SERP so much, I realized that I had to standardize those. And standardizing them has helped me enormously in my brand SERP, but also in my social strategy, my wider social strategy. It's so easy to find me now. And the other one is that your example with all the branded terms, Apple Watch, Apple iPhone, so on and so forth, is really interesting. It's a lovely extension of what I'm dealing with. I'm saying exact match brand SERPs. It's your business card. People are researching you. And it also gives you a great insight into your digital marketing strategy. And you can push that further. I mean, sorry, and I've been doing that for 7 years and I still haven't come to the end of it. I'm still learning stuff. And when I looked at SE ranking, I learned loads of stuff by tracking my own brand name. But taking that further, tracking all those terms that contain your brand name using something like SE ranking is a wonderful opportunity to hit bottom of funnel and make maximum out of all of these people at bottom of funnel researching you and your products. Sorry, I'm getting overexcited there.
No, great. I'm just happy to hear not that you support us, but that you always have additional ideas like the name, address, and phone number consistency, and how it really matters to finding you online. And even like as an example, if you guys just Google Jason's SERP right now, it will not only give you an example, but it will actually help him out. Show Google that he is of interest, and this is something that you can do as well for your different strategies that you employ.
Yeah, I mean, boosting the pure volume of the brand searches, the searches around your brand, is incredibly important. The more people search your brand, the more important you seem to Google. And in fact, the more important you are. I mean, the more popular you are, the more people are interested in you. And when people search with terms around your brands, if people search Jason Barnard, that's great. If they search Jason Barnard marketing, or Jason Barnard digital marketing, or Jason Barnard podcast, that sends a very powerful signal to Google why people are interested in me. And that is incredibly important.
Yeah, so everybody should take this into account, and I know I learned a lot. No, for sure. This is something that I'm gonna be promoting in our team, and everybody should just focus on this because it really helps out a lot.
And please do tell everybody that I've been doing this for 7 years, and I'm still learning every time I do a presentation or I look at a new brand SERP.
Yeah, there's no point in delaying. Everybody should just hop on board and start managing their brand SERP, because there's no other way around it. Brilliant. So we have a couple of questions, and first one is going to be, you say that the brand SERP actually changes a lot from different countries and even different regions. And How much exactly does it change? And are there any pointers that you have specifically for people working in maybe different English-speaking countries, even not taking into account like global, like Spain or
Yeah.
Italy or in Germany, just English-speaking countries, for example?
Well, with Calicube Pro, I actually tracked 6 English-speaking countries: USA, Canada, the UK, Ireland, New Zealand, and Australia. And I did that because I wanted to see how different they were across all these different countries. And the answer is incredibly different. I talked to John Mueller from Google and Frederic Debut from Bing, who are both kind of very high up in the algorithm team people. And they both told me 2 things about brand SERPs, one of which is they are the richest SERPs, i.e. they have the most SERP features of any kind of SERP. And also that they're the ones that vary the most between countries. Now, why is that? Because people in different countries have different needs in terms of what they need to know about you. And also, your presence in those different countries is going to be different. So, for example, Apple, the result in Australia is different to the result in America. And an example would be that in Australia, perhaps they have 6 blue links to deal with because they've got 4 rich elements. But in America, they've only got 4 blue links to deal with because they've got more rich elements. So it's incredibly important if you're an international business to track your brand in multiple countries because those results vary so very much. And also, a localized result, for example, an article about Apple in Australia will be more relevant to an Australia than an article from the New York Times. So the article from Australia will rank in the Australian SERP and the New York Times will rank in the American SERP. And it allows you as a business to also focus on different things that are different results, that are important in different contexts, different countries, for different audiences.
Thanks a lot. So, yeah, everybody take that into account. Another question is, you already sort of touched on it. It was, so I have a negative article, for example, in the on my brand SERP. So what do I do with that? So just to recap, I know you talked about leapfrogging, but let's maybe cover that a bit more.
No, it's a great question because when I tell people that I track, measure, and optimize brand SERPs, they'll say, "Oh, online reputation management," and I say, "No, it's not online reputation management. It's proactive, perhaps." But I don't deal with brands who have bad results specifically. I deal with brands in terms of saying, let's optimize it, let's make it as good as we possibly can. If you have a bad result, we need to deal with it, and we deal with it through leapfrogging rather than creating boatloads of new content in the hope we can drown it, which is rubbish, and it's what a lot of people do. You want to leapfrog over it. But to leapfrog, you simply need to prove to Google that the content you think is valuable, useful, and helpful truly is. And Google will push it up and the bad content will disappear. That's point number 1. Point number 2 is if you don't have any bad results, negative results on your SERP today, great, but you might tomorrow. And if you control your brand SERP today like I do, the probability, the possibility that that new bad result will rank is much lower. And if it does, you've already done the groundwork to start leapfrogging quickly, efficiently, and effectively.
Great. And our time is sort of coming to an end, so I wanted to take a final question that was sort of like inspirational for anybody who is dealing with the problem, not the problem, with finding out about the brand SERP management issue today for the first time. Where would I start? What is the first thing that I do to get to start improving my brand SERP, basically?
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, we were talking about control, semi-control, and no control, which you actually brought up as well, which was really interesting. That we can approach that and say, what do I control, what don't I control, and what do I semi-control? Place to start: what you control. Fastest results, most efficient, and also because your brand SERP, you should have your homepage at the top. It's the thing that's the most visible. So start with your homepage, start with your site links, start with Google Ads. Google Ads, it's a cheap way to get that message that you want front center right at the top. And in fact, in the course that I've released, there is a lesson about how to best optimize your brand SERP campaigns in Google Ads. And what I've found is that brands can save up to 30% on whatever budget they're putting into Google Ads today on the brand SERPs.
Wow.
They can save 30% of what they're paying. I have several clients who I've done that for. And I explain in the lesson exactly what to go through to make that brand SERP Google Ads campaign much cheaper. And it saves lots of money and gets that message across in a much, much more effective manner. And I'll say it again because I love the phrase front, center, right at the top.
Great, Jason. So thanks a lot for today's webinar. Thanks for sharing your experience and the insights. And I hope that everyone enjoyed this and it got a lot of value from it. So once again, if you have any questions, reach out to SE Ranking and Jason. And we'll be happy to have you more, Jason, in the future to have more talks about what's happening in the world of SEO and in the SERP brand management world.
Brilliant. Yeah, well, thank you very much for having me. That was an awful lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I loved the entire experience. Thanks, man.
Thanks a lot. Same here on my end. It was great. So stay safe, guys, and take care. Thanks again for joining us. Bye.
Bye-bye. Have fun.